Well, hello and welcome to the Mindset Mentor here on Sauga 960. I'm Tania Kolar, helping you live your best life. Well, today I thought it would be a really great conversation to talk about driving your worth forward because your self-worth is the most important thing. And remember that you really need to put yourself first. I know a lot of people still today have a hard time doing that because you feel that it's really, selfish to do that. But again, you got to put your oxygen mask on first so that you can live your best life and also allow others to thrive in your environment. So today I brought my good friend and Audi Sport Expert on the show. Speaking of driving, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the correlation between, personal development, right? And our self-worth and cars and what they have to do together. It's so interesting because, how we do one thing is how we do everything. And how we purchase vehicles is also indicative of our values and our self-worth, or certainly can be, not always, but it's a really interesting conversation. So how about we say hello and welcome to a dear friend, Shehan Wicks. We go way back, longtime friend. We used to work together on the shopping channel, and here we are again having a great conversation. A pleasure to have you on the show here today, Shehan.
Thank you so much, Tanya. It's a pleasure to see you and to talk with you. This is a great segue for both, I think, our transition from being live on air to being on radio and being on video and different careers and whatnot that we've gone into, coming back together and sharing some of our experiences that we've had together
Yeah,
on
I love
this.
that. One of the favorite quotes that I have is by Steve Jobs, and he says that you cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking back. And it's so interesting. It's because, if we do look back, it's like, oh my gosh, everything that we have done, I'm talking about everything, everybody, not just us. I'm talking about, all the things that you have done in your life. It's so interesting to see how it really brings you to the moment of where you are. And, where you are right now in this moment is exactly where you're meant to be. So I think it's really, interesting. So it is great to have this conversation with you again, Shahan, to kind of catch up and we're going
Sure.
to talk about some of the great things that you are doing in the car world. You are the Audi Sport Expert in Midtown and also captain for the Twin Cup competition in at 2023 in Germany. So
Yes.
first of all, congratulations. I know you came
Thank
back
you.
second prize in the
Yeah.
world. Pretty cool.
That's right. So Canada led the way. Basically, a lot of the countries were afraid of Canada, and unfortunately, but the U.S. did prevail first. But they were told to watch out for the Canadians because we had a reputation of beating them, and we beat out 26 other countries around the world. So
Amazing.
it was a great experience for me just to go out there, meet all these other countries, how they see Audi in the world, and how we met and basically competed. And it was a skills competition, knowledge base, and also using a vehicle. We got to drive around the racetrack. We got to go on the autobahn with certain vehicles, and it was a life altering experience. I have to say, it was amazing on
That's
that.
amazing. I love the sounds of that, a life-altering experience. And, I think it's those moments that really teach us a lot about ourselves. And it's the ability to move forward no matter where we are in life and to sort of just go after it. And I also love that you will be going back to go for that championship number one, right? For 2024. And I think that is also key because, you said something about how, okay, so, US got number one, and that's okay because in life, we have to continue to strive. We're not always going to
Right.
be number one in anything that we do, but there's always the ability just to move forward. And I think it's so important to take action because the universe rewards action. And that's where the magic happens. And you don't have to come back with first prize and anything. It's about taking action because it really starts to build and create an incredible sense of confidence and self-worth. And I think a lot of the issues that people face today, and including myself in that. When I say people, that's me too, right? Is the lack of our belief in ourselves. And it's so important that we remember how magnificent and extraordinary we truly are. So I just love to have these conversations to put things into perspective for people and just give them a way to look at how they do things. And it's just sort of a shake up sometimes and a wake up call to say, well, am I living my best life? And if I'm
Right.
not living my best life, how do I start to live my best life? And it's interesting, Shehan, the connection between our choices in cars and our self-worth, right? I think some people believe that
Right.
they can't have a luxury vehicle, right? And it's not for them.
Right.
And what do you see when you have people coming in to select cars?
That's one of the things that people will say that, oh, I don't think I can afford an Audi, right? But you don't have to get a brand new one. I always say, you don't have to. An R8 is the race car that we all know that Audi is known for.
Mhm.
It's great if you can afford to get to that point, but let's start. You have to start somewhere. And I always tell people, hey, maybe you want that RS5, but maybe we start with an A5. And then, in 3 or 4 years, we progress and see how your life is changing. And if you're doing better, and maybe, yeah, now I go to an S5, then I go to an RS5. So more performance. And with that, it also comes prestige, and people always see that. So I think there is that look to always strive for more. And I know with myself in competitions, we had what's known as national walk around competitions, and I would compete. I got the regionals, then I went to nationals, came in third. Well, that was great that year. And the following year I did it, came in second. Great, keep going. You always keep building. Then I got to first and I won for the whole country. And then it turned out that the following year they said, okay, you've made it to first. You can't compete anymore. You've done your but the point is I
Mm.
actually kept on going. And I think people need to, if you fail, you need to keep on going, because if you're consistent and you realize, hey, what did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong? How can I do better? That is what you got to strive to do. What can I do to help myself for the next time? Right.
Mm.
And I think some people, when it comes to cars, they think, oh, I can't afford this right now. And I understand that. Maybe it's not a new car. Maybe it's a used one. Maybe we start there. And that gives them that ability. For me, it was always like, hey, I don't think I can even afford an Audi. And then I thought, this is my goal. I want to get to that where I can afford, but it's a goal in my life, even though it's a car, but it's what I do with my life to get that car, right? It's that mindset you have to strive for, and you're going to come across barriers and people that will say no, right? And no, I don't think you can, but you got to put all that negativity aside and just go for what your goals are and strive for that.
Yeah, and I think that that's an interesting point. And put that all aside when people say, you can't have that. But I think sometimes we can be our own worst critic.
Sure.
We don't believe that we can have that. And by the way, for everybody listening, when we talk about, the Audi R8, right, the luxury vehicle, that really is a metaphor for anything in life that you are striving for. Okay, so we're having a great discussion today about driving your worth forward. So, an empowering discussion on the correlation of, cars and car ownership and personal growth. But again, the car is a metaphor for anything that you want to attain in life, and anything that you want to achieve. It's so important to continue to have those dreams. Now, for anybody listening out there, I just want to be very clear. I'm not saying that, you need to have a car to live a great life. Absolutely not.
No,
That's not what we're saying at all. You have to give yourself permission to have the things that you want to have in life. And that might be a car for you, and that might be, not a car for you if that's not what you
sure.
want. And that's okay. But to expand and go beyond our comfort zone and to go beyond the belief of what we think is impossible, right? And to create what's possible for us. I think that is really key in how to move forward in an empowering way.
Exactly. And I think the more you get that no, you have to kind of push yourself over that barrier and say, yes, I can, and try and start small. Like people say, baby steps, right? You have to start somewhere. And I remember actually one of the best quotes I've ever heard, and this is coming from another alumni of the Shopping Channel, is Rosalie Brown. And she would say, if you rest, you rust. And we know what great shape she's in because she always exercises. And you would not believe, like she's amazing in what she does, promoting gym equipment or exercising or constant health. And I think that's the one thing you got to just keep on going, just keep on going. And a lot of people have had opportunities. Well, they got the door shut in their face, but how many doors did they get shut in their face before one door opened and finally let you in?
Mm.
If you don't do anything, the answer is no. It's always going to be no if you stop. But if you keep on doing it, eventually something's going to open up for you.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, boy, I've had so many doors closed, slammed in my face, let's say. And you know what? You just keep on opening and you keep on trying. That is so important. So I love that. It's so true. So you said, if you rest, you rust, and kind of totally fitting for, a vehicle as well, right? Those
Yep.
those cars that get neglected, the tires start to wear or tires fall off.
Yeah.
You've got the rust and the corrosion, and that's where the inactivity is, and that's how it correlates to our life. The moments of procrastination where we're so immobilized, where we don't want to move forward. We all can procrastinate a little bit here and there, but we don't
Yep.
want a lifetime of procrastination because you can never live your best life if you're not trying for something, right? It's so important. You just get up and you keep on going. You don't have to have all of the answers. You don't have to know the how. And that's where we can get in our own way. We believe and we try to control everything and we feel like we have to know what's going to happen, but you really don't. But you do have to show up. You have to show up for yourself.
I think so wholeheartedly. Like you need to keep pushing yourself for one, and set your goals, whether it's a house, a car, a trip, or just another job, right? Like you want to excel in what you do. You have to set those goals in life because, I mean, I never thought I could be on the Shopping Channel. I was a jewelry designer in the beginning for like 20 plus years. And then I shifted away from jewelry and went into the car sales. Um, and I just found that you got to find something that you're really passionate about. And for me, I always loved cars. I used to go car shopping with my father when I was little. And I think I did more of that than anything. And just the fact that we did that, I kind of think that that had an influence on how much I love cars. If you have a passion for something, just go for it. And for me, it was a passion about learning about the vehicles, about what it could do. And then by doing that, people would see that, hey, I'm not just there to sell you a car, but I'm there to help you along with it. Because like I would have a tutorial page on YouTube and I would teach people how to use things because I found that there was a need that, I would go through the car for about an hour with the client when they pick it up, or we have a delivery specialist who does that, but you only retain so much, right? And you kind of need to learn it again and again. So I would create a video for everyone on how to do that. And by doing that, I created a following. And by having that following, the word spread. And it's that passion that I love about vehicles and the new technology and things like that. Now we're going in from gas to electric vehicles. And I was one of the first people as a salesman at Audi to get my own electric vehicle. And I've had about 3 years, 3 or 4 years now experience with it. So it's a different mindset in driving, and you have to learn how to adapt with society. I think that's the main thing. Things are changing around the world, and we have to learn to adapt. We can't just say, "Oh, I'm too old for that. Like I can't do it anymore." Like, no, we can all learn. There's there's ways we can learn, whether it's slower or it comes to us quickly. We can all learn about it, and sometimes we just need some guidance. I'm here for that.
I
So,
love it. Yes, we all could use some guidance in life. And that's really important because, when we do have that passion for something, we should explore that because that's where we really start to thrive in life is pursuing and saying yes to our passion. You talked about as a kid, you discovered your passion, going with your father, to check out these cars. And, they always say, if you forget what your passion is, look back to your childhood. What did you love to do and play and to dream, right? Because as adults, we give up on those dreams, and it's never too late to give up on your dreams. There could be any sort of, iteration of that dream. Maybe it's going to morph into something a little bit different, but there's always a connection. So I think it's important to explore that, to find that passion. And I also love that you were talking about the tutorials, creating those tutorials.
mhm.
I recently just got a new car, and I went to YouTube to check out the features
What
that
everybody
use
does.
this. Yeah, and it's so funny because I've learned my lesson because many years ago I had a Nissan, a Nissan Altima, and it had a little tiny button. You could not even see this little push button on the door handle that if you press the button, it would open the door. You could open the door, right? Without
Mhm.
having to use the key. And this was like way back. And it was about, I think, maybe like, a week or a few days before I was giving the car back because it was a lease. So when my lease was up, I finally discovered how to use that feature. I didn't know about it for 4 years. And I was like,
Right
what
at
a
the end.
great feature. And then I didn't know about. So we need you, Shahan.
That's what I'm here for. And I tell all my clients, like all my clients have my cell number. So when I basically give them a delivery and they pick up their car, I usually take a picture of them with their car and I send it to them. And I send it to them via text. And I say, now you have your picture, you have my contact info. This is my cell. You text me and you say, drive the car for a few days. After a while, if there's something you don't know how to do or a feature you need to explain, send me a text. I'll create a video and I'll post it on my YouTube page because then and then I'll share it to your text, which I did actually today for a client on Apple CarPlay and
Hmm.
reestablishing it because he didn't realize that in the car you can either have um, the phone done through Bluetooth and Apple CarPlay actually uses Wi-Fi. So I had to show him that, and he goes, "But I'll forget how I got there." I said, "Okay, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to take a video of it." And I did a video of it and I said, "I'll send it to you later because then I need to transcribe what I said into text. So it's there as well." So I transcribe it into text. So you have the video with the text of me talking what needs to be done. And he's watching it over and over and he's saying, "Okay, I get it now." Right. So that way, if I show you once, you'll remember it, or maybe you'll only get 50% of it. But if I send you a video on it, you always have it there, right? So that's how I look after my clients and try to help them further with it.
I think that's such a great, feature to have and a great service that you provide. And, also it ties right back into being passionate about what you do, going the extra mile. It's joyful as opposed to, a chore to do something. And most people wouldn't even think of doing, a video to help
Yep.
explain those features, right? I mean, that's not part of what you're required to do. So that's going above and beyond. And I think that when we pursue our passion, things become just so fulfilling refueling, that you love to do these extra things, right, that are equated to that. You're listening to The Mindset Mentor. I'm Tania Kolar. My special guest today is Shehan Wicks. He is an Audi Sport Expert. And today we are talking about driving your worth forward because you are so worthy. And, so many people live a life feeling like they are not enough. Well, we are here to tell you that you are more than enough. You are magnificent. You are extraordinary and certainly worthy of living your best life. Stay tuned. We'll be back after this break. Welcome back to the Mindset Mentor. I'm Tania Kolar, helping you live your best life. Joining me today is my dear friend Shehan Wicks, who is an Audi Sport Expert. He is here to share, not only some great information on cars, but we're having a great discussion on cars and personal growth and our mindset. We talked a little bit earlier before we took a break about, how our belief systems can really impact the way that we select a vehicle. We believe sometimes that we're not able to have that luxury vehicle. It's not for us, it's for other people. Well, what if it is for you? What if you trained and developed your mindset to believe that you are worthy and you can have all of the wonderful things that you want? Well, that's what we're going to discuss today, and we'll continue the conversation with Shehan Wicks. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me here. This is a great opportunity. I wanted to express my sincere appreciation for, working with you again, because we used to work so well together on the shopping channel, and now we've kind of gone into different paths, and this is great to meet up again and express what we're doing here.
Yeah, we all have purpose and meaning in life. And I think that it's so important to remember how valuable you are. Everybody listening, I want you to remember how valuable you are. Life, we can get bogged down and inundated by the stressors of daily living, financial situations, and all these things that are, considered, let's say, obligations. And then we can forget our passion, we can forget our dream, and we can start to feel like we don't have purpose. And there's always meaning and purpose and in fact behind all of your experiences combined. But when you're stuck in those moments that don't feel fantastic, I want to encourage you to know that you're not alone. We've all been there, and if we will get there at some point. Life is a cycle and we're always evolving constantly, and it's the ups and downs, right? It's the myriad of emotions that we have as humans, the spectrum of emotions. So it's normal to have the highs and the lows in life. But please don't ever feel like giving up and that you're alone, because you're never alone, and it's never too late to shift your mindset, to shift your belief system. I know for me, for decades, I struggled with a very limiting mindset, subconscious beliefs that were running in the background, the silent programming that really led me to live a small life. And I learned how to reprogram my mindset. And if I can do it, then anybody can do it. You can do it. And remember that we have, a very sort of plastic brain where it's malleable. We can shape and shift and really build and learn new things. When we learn new things, when we try new things, when we achieve our goals, when we strive for that, we start to build new neural networks, that neural pathway. It's like a cluster, a network, a cluster of those nerves where we're starting to regenerate and build. And so the more you do something, the more, the easier it becomes. So if you're feeling things are difficult right now, no matter where you are in your life and whatever it is that you're doing, please know that things will get better, but you have to take action, continue to take action. And it could be a tiny little step. And that is so valuable. So let's talk a little bit more, Shehan, about some of the beliefs that you have seen coming in, and the handing somebody the keys to their first luxury vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Have you
Yeah.
seen, a shift in people? Like even our physiology can change when we start to realize that we are worthy of attaining something that we've desired in life.
Definitely. I find that some people, they might have a new job or they've excelled in their job that, hey, I can afford to get this vehicle. And when they do get that car that they've always wanted, and it could be just, it might be a dream, a small dream of theirs that, this is something I wanted to attain for several years and I can finally afford to get there. I'm not saying that like Audi is like the most expensive vehicle out there or the most prestigious, but what I'm saying is for a lot of people, it's that goal. And I had those small goals as well that, hey, there's certain models I want to get to and I can finally go there, but I have to do certain things. And it's that repetition of either in your work where you're striving forward constantly and keeping the negativity aside and trying to do better at what you do. And you know what? If you get criticism, use it. Take that criticism, embrace it, and say, okay, so that's what I did wrong, but what can I do better to help? And I find that even in car sales, there might be something that people misread other people. And I've seen it or heard it just in women going out and buying a car for themselves. And they said, I went with my spouse or I went with my boyfriend. And the car salesman, they kept directing all the questions at him. And he's looking at me going, I'm not the one who's buying the car. It's her. Why are you asking me? And I've had friends tell me they went and bought a car on their own, and then before they were about to sign it, they asked them, "Well, do you need your husband to go through this with you and make sure this is the right vehicle?" And she's like, "I'm not with anybody. This is for me." Do you not see the fact that, and people need to stop diminishing like a woman's value as opposed to a man, because first of all, women live longer than men. It's a natural fact. So I see it all the time when men come in and buy a vehicle, they call their wives or they call their spouse and say, hey, is this the right color? Is this the model? Are these the features we want? They will have that discussion. If you're married, you know this, right? You find out, or if you're with a significant other, you know this. You always do things together. But when people start diminishing the fact that, hey, as a woman, you should have more value than what people are portraying to you. And I don't diminish that at all. I direct it towards them and say, you tell me. Because the funny part about it, like I said, they're going to outlive us all. So guess what? Who's going to be left with the car, right?
Yeah, yeah, right, exactly. That's a really interesting observation. And I think that's sort of indicative of life. I would imagine most people have experienced a time where somebody has not valued them.
Yeah,
And they just don't see your worth. And that's when it becomes our job to really know and have a very strong sense of inner belief in ourselves and have that worthiness. Because yes, there might be people who just don't get us, but they're not meant to get us, right? In that
right,
moment, that's okay. There's in every exchange, there is a lesson and an opportunity, a lesson to learn
exactly,
something about ourselves or to teach something to someone else. And maybe in that case, the scenario that you gave, maybe that salesperson needs to learn something and how the value in others, and that it's a process that they're going to experience. But really, it doesn't matter. As they say, it's not what other people believe about us is none of our opinion, right? It's none of our business, I should
right,
say, right? Because what really truly matters is your own belief in yourself and to not take it personally when others don't value you. And I know it feels tough sometimes. I mean, you could have grown up in an environment where you felt invisible because people just did not value who you are. But I can tell you that if you've been in that experience, there was a great learning opportunity in that. And now you're probably, easily can recognize the value in other people, and people probably gravitate to you because you are that person who can really appreciate others. There's an energy that we exude when we do value and appreciate others. And trying to not take it personally, I think is good. I remember people used to say that all the time. Oh, don't take it personally. Don't take it personally. And I was
Right.
like, well, how could you not take it personally? It's personal. It's all personal. But I've come to realize what that actually means. And when you have a very strong belief in yourself, it doesn't matter what anybody says. And also, to that point, just to be very clear again, because as we're talking about this discussion, we're talking about cars and we're talking about our personal growth, right? But we don't need to have external things in order to feel valuable. But that doesn't mean that we don't strive for valuable things and want great things. But,
Sure.
it's just about the awareness. That's the most important thing is that I wanted to discuss is having the awareness. And when you're not validating yourself, and sometimes you need other people to not validate you, to also realize that you do the same thing. Right? Do you see what I'm saying? It's kind of like other
That's
people can
right.
be mirrors and shine a light on our personal belief systems.
I hate to say it, but with social media and people, you see it with young people, right? They're so influenced by everything that's out there in the media, and they see like a picture of a woman who's like beautiful skin, beautiful hair, those kind of things. But what they don't realize is what's in the background of that. Has it been altered? Because we've seen that, right? There's photo editing. There's so many things that can change your perception of what reality is. And I think you have to strive for what you are doing in your life and not concerned with other people's lives. And just, I always get that question. Oh, do you see like how well we did today or anything? I'm like, no, I'm looking at how well I did today, right? Like rather than always being in a competition. It's great to be competitive, but don't let it bring you down either. You have to be, I think, competitive with yourself and see how well you can do for yourself on that.
Hmm.
And in order to grow, I really do think that you need that kind of, you know, perseverance to strive forward with what you want to do in your life. And by doing that, you'll excel, and people will see that too, that, hey, this is a person who is growing, and, anything you throw at them, they adapt. And I think adapting these days is probably the best thing you can do. There's so many things that are happening in the world right now. And I think you need to adapt or you're going to get left behind.
Yeah, I love that. That's a really interesting, concept, adapting. And that's why it's so important that we, maintain a growth mindset versus having a fixed mindset where we believe that we can't, change and we can't learn and we can't try new things. Having a growth mindset opens you up to limitless possibilities and the opportunity to, reach your potential and to actually like blast through any sort of ceiling potential that you thought you had. And to that point, to bring it back to cars, let's talk about some of the progression that we've seen through cars because we're now adapting
Mm-hmm.
to new ways, to eco-friendly modes of transportation and vehicles
Yep.
itself. So let's talk a little bit about what's happening, in the world and the adapting that we need to do there.
Well, that's exactly what's happening right now. We can see that transition from gas to electric. And whether it's hybrid, mild hybrid, or full plug-in battery electric vehicles, that is happening. And I think by about 2025, which is only a year away, we're going to see a lot of new electric vehicles coming into play with all the manufacturers across Canada, across the world. Um, and by doing that, a lot of people think, well, I have all this power, it's great, I don't have to pay for gas. But there is a different mindset to driving an electric vehicle. And I think in the first few years, people didn't realize it or they found out the hard way. Um, yes, it has a lot of power. And when I say power, I'm talking about off the line, right? 0 to 60. And they're fast, but you have to think of it in terms of a gas engine. It's like driving a V8 or V10 engine, like a really high performance supercar. Because when you step on the gas or the power pedal now, you're heavy, you have a heavy foot and you're going fast. you're draining that power meter down, and people are like, well, I thought I was going to get like over 400 kilometers, but it's also the way you drive. And I've learned to adapt. Now, I'm Audi Sport Expert, and which means I get trained on the racetrack with the R8, all the RS models, um, whenever something new comes out. But now that we're transitioning over to electric, I've learned that I no longer drive in the fast lane or the third lane on the highway, and where you're doing maybe over 120 or whatever, right? Uh, I'm now in the first lane, the slow lane. And I'll tell you why. Because now your mind is adapting to the fact, hey, I want to conserve energy.
Mhm.
Now, my distance for travel is about 35 kilometers. And if I leave in the morning and want to be there for 9 o'clock, I know on the highway I'm in traffic, but I'm actually going south, so it's a slight decline. So in an electric vehicle, I set it at 108, right? So I'm not at 100. Nobody really wants to go 100. I'm over 108. And if a car comes in front of me, my car will slow down because I have adaptive cruise. And it's that mindset that I'm thinking, okay, I, I'm going slower, but I'm actually regenerating the battery and I'm gaining to the point that sometimes if you're in stop and go traffic and the car is doing all the driving, stop and go with adaptive cruise, where it can actually slow down to a stop because of the car in front of you slowing down. It's actually regenerating your battery and giving you more mileage. And I've had it where, let's say I had 350 kilometers when I left my house, and now I'm at work 35 kilometers later, and I have 360 kilometers. Well, I just gained 10 kilometers. How is that possible? Well, that's the mindset that you have to understand how electric works versus the gas. Yeah, you could drive fast in the fast lane and get to work maybe 5 minutes earlier at most. Half the time, I'm passing everybody in the first lane because everybody's moving to the fast lane. And then if everybody's in the fast lane, it's moving slow. So I'm actually passing everyone else. Don't tell anyone. That's my secret for getting to work on
A
time.
whole lot more people in that first lane.
Everybody's in the first lane now.
Mhm.
So I find that, you know, things that happen on the road, people get upset. They try to cut in, get a little road rage. I put that all aside. When I'm driving electric now, I invite people to come in front of me. Like people want to like cut in front of me, and you got like 2 feet of space, and they want to cut in front of you. I'm like, I just back off and let them go. There's no point getting upset. It's that mindset of like, hey, don't worry, go ahead, wave at them, not the finger. I'm saying wave, right?
I've been waved at before with that finger.
Yeah, so I'm
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like
Yeah.
I always tell people, go ahead, go right ahead. Now my car is labeled up like a race car and it says Audi Sport Expert.ca, but like if they want to go in front of you, let them go in front of you. Did it really need to start like a battle between you and someone else in a car? Like, no, there's
Mm.
no reason to,
Yeah,
right?
that's interesting. So, oftentimes that road rage, um, it's a trigger, right? Someone has a trigger
Yeah,
point and somebody's buttons were pushed, right? So now they
right,
are misdirecting their anger. It turns into
correct,
rage at a stranger on a road, versus health healthy expressions of emotion in their life. It's when we block those and repress emotions that it does start to lead to anger and discord in our lives. So it is important to process our feelings and our emotions, and not to stuff down any of those beliefs or feelings, because it does come out eventually. Right. The body holds on to everything, holds on to our trauma, our
yeah,
emotions. And when we don't have a healthy outlet, it is going to come out in an inopportune moment, like perhaps on the highway, somebody's cut you off, and then, we can maybe say or do things that we don't necessarily want to do. Now, I've always looked at that and go, why would people be so upset, at a stranger, and then this road rage happens? But there's been times, I'll admit, that I've got a little bit angry, a little bit angry at somebody, getting angry at me for me not even realizing I potentially cut somebody
Yeah,
off, right? But
it could
then I've
happen.
got
Yeah,
to sort
definitely.
of bring it down a notch and realize that, wait a second, it's not them, it's me, it's how I'm feeling that particular day, right? It's a trigger point, it's somebody's pushing our
Right.
buttons. And it's really, again, really important for us to have the awareness of what our triggers are and try to have healthy ways and options to handle those triggers that potentially come up.
Yeah, we need to learn how to manage our own triggers. I think for sure. If you talk to any colleagues of mine, they think I'm one of the calmest people here. I mean, I've gone through a lot in my life that little things don't faze me so much anymore. I'm like, I, you know what? Little things can, there's worse things happening in the world.
Hmm.
Thank goodness we're not in a different part of the world right
Hmm.
now,
Hmm.
right? And what we're experiencing, unfortunately, with some people out there. So be thankful for what you have. It's that mindset that you said, like, we need to grow. We need to put aside some feelings that, maybe you just need to breathe. Like, take 5 seconds and breathe and just, like, let it all flow out. Woosah.
Meditation as well. Yeah, exactly. Right. Get into that Zen flow. It's
Exactly.
definitely very helpful. Deep breathing, a few deep breaths will go a long way in
Sure
terms of
does.
calming,
Yep.
the system down. Yeah.
Calm
Yeah.
yourself down. Exactly. And I think, with that comes growth. And when you grow, not you're not backpedaling, right? If you keep getting in your head like, this is bothering me, this is bothering me, there's no room for growth because you're just bringing yourself down. I
Hmm.
think you just have to just keep striving, put those negative feelings aside. I mean, everybody needs to feel, but I think misdirected anger, is not healthy. And
Hmm.
it doesn't. And one thing I always said, when you're working in the workplace, and if you don't enjoy what you're doing, don't do it, because half the time those people who are complaining about their work, they they're making it horrible for everybody else around them, right? So if you don't like what you're doing, do what you will like doing.
Hmm.
Figure it out. You have to figure out what makes you happy and try and do that, because then it doesn't feel like a job or it doesn't feel like work. Now, some people don't have that opportunity to actually do that. They have to take whatever they can, but try and be the best at whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're not doing what you love, you can learn to love what you do in that moment. It's simple. Just start with the moment and do it to the best of your ability, right? It becomes much more enjoyable when you set the intention to love what you're doing in that moment. And it's interesting because our driving habits, and our experiences can certainly impact our overall confidence levels. So that's why I think the driving piece is such a great metaphor for life and how we drive forward, or
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we rest and rust. And so it's great to build that confidence behind the wheel. So as you're navigating the challenges on the road, you're learning how to navigate the challenges in your life as well. And again, we don't necessarily do things, perfectly, so to speak, in the
Mm-hmm.
moment, but we can always learn from those experiences. And then the next time that experience comes back around, you're better prepared to handle that in a different way. So it's really good to just sort of sometimes take stock and have a look at, your own personal behaviors, our limiting beliefs, our perceptions. Of course, these can date back to, childhood, and they carry forward through adulthood. And it's silently playing in the background like a loop over and over and over again. So if we can start to develop strategies that can help us to become more aware, it can really be impactful. As I said, it's a lot of it is the subconscious belief system that we have that keeps us stuck and from really reaching out and claiming that extraordinary life, or reaching out and claiming that luxury vehicle that you want, or the luxury lifestyle that you dream of having. And that's not for other people, it is for you. And that's a misnomer where we believe a great life is for somebody else and that we're just meant to suffer. We're not meant to suffer greatly on this planet. Suffering, whatever that looks like for somebody, and there's certainly very levels of that, is an experience that we will certainly have in life, right? Because again, we're here, we're going to experience a lot, but it's temporary. And we can get really tied to one belief system, or the victimhood of why is this happening? This shouldn't have happened to me. Why me? Poor me. But if we can start to look at, wow, this has actually happened for me, not to me. Right. I think that's so key in living a great life. I've been there where I've had experiences in life. I'm like, oh my goodness, like what was that? And then I've
Yeah.
realized, and when I say I realized, I mean it may have taken a decade or two or even three, to
Yep.
finally figure it out. But now when I have these sort of shake up experiences in life, I can look at it and say, thank you for this opportunity. I get it. I know there's something that's going to be for me, that is for me, that I can learn from, or that I can help other people learn something from as well.
No, definitely. I think learning and growing is what life is about. We live in a great country, that there is opportunity for us all around. We just have to find it and find what works best for us. Um, and I think for me, I found my niche in the car business, but I'm a people person, so I like meeting new people. I like teaching them about their vehicle or things about that vehicle. And every year for me, unlike the real estate business, I get something new in my inventory each year. Whereas, I always say realtors have it harder because they're 24/7 dealing with clients and they have to go out there and find their inventory. Mine is produced by the manufacturer. I just have to learn about it. And I find that the more I learn and the more I can convey how it will help that person in their life, then they're happier for it. Right. So if I can help you find that feature that, hey, this makes my life a little bit easier
Yeah.
and this is what I'm looking for, then it helps.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're going to continue to help the listeners when we come back. We're going to take a break here on Sauga 960. Welcome back to the Mindset Mentor here on Sauga 960. We are going to continue the conversation on driving your worth forward. Remember that you are worthy, you're magnificent, and you are meant to live a magnificent life. So I want you to keep on driving. The life road can be very challenging. We've got the bumps and the highs and the lows, the red lights, the green lights, the yellows, all of that, the on ramp, off ramps. And it's about remembering that you have a journey and we're getting to our destination, and there's so many different routes that we can take to get to that destination, but it's important to know where you're going, and our goals can guide us. And I think it's important to remember that you have a dream and those things that you love to attain for yourselves. Go out and reach them because they are there for you. We're going to continue the conversation with my guest Shehan Wicks, who is an Audi Sport Expert, and we've been talking about the correlation of cars linked to our mindset and personal development. Shehan, you said something before we took a break
Mm-hmm.
on it was on electric vehicles, and you
Yep.
talked about how the car actually regenerates itself, in that sort of
Correct.
power
It
mode.
regenerates. Exactly.
Yeah, and
So,
then we actually get more mileage out of that vehicle. But that's really interesting because as you were talking about that, I was thinking about how important it is to rest and regenerate and rejuvenate ourselves in our lives so that we can actually have more power, more mileage, so to speak, in doing the things that we'd like to do because we have the energy to do it versus being exhausted and depleting ourselves.
Yeah, I think that's even like a correlation of your health with your go, 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 but then you don't rest and take time to sleep. Because I know some people, myself included, uh, I used to sleep like 3 hours, 4 hours a night, and I felt like I could just keep going. But your body, your mind might say that, but your body doesn't. And it's the same thing with electric vehicles. Like you can drive in a straightaway for about 15, 20 minutes and you watch the power deplete. But as soon as you start slowing down, there's battery regeneration, which helps with the power and gives back power to you. So think of that with your health. I mean, cars, you need to maintain them, just like we need to go to a doctor and just get a checkup. I do a yearly checkup. I just did one actually yesterday. So it's something that we have to remember that our health is our most valuable asset, right? Because without our health, if we're not just like a vehicle, whether it's a gas car or electric car, not putting the right fuel, not putting the electricity in the car, just like our health, we're not putting all the garbage into ourselves, right? It's not going to run as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so does our health. Our health is if you can, exercise, eat the proper foods, drink plenty of water, and then rest as well, do your exercises, walk. You do things that help you with your health. Your body can go further. Your mindset is better in terms of your brain being active as well. And then we find that we can strive to do more with ourselves and for a longer period of time, right? So I think, in a sense, when we're talking about cars and people, there's a correlation there. Like we go for a yearly checkup to the doctor. Same thing with the car. You do that as well in order to
Tune
keep
up.
it
Yep.
going. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
right. We need to do those things for ourselves to learn and to grow in. Cars come in, they get like an update. We need to learn to get an update and adapt to that. And we were talking about adapting and growth. And I think that is one of the big things that um, changing our mindset to old ways of thinking and new ways that are coming through that we have to learn to adapt to and just strive for more in order to get where we want to be in life.
Yeah, change can be scary. I think a lot of people
It is.
fear change. But if
Mm-hmm.
we can sort of dissect our lives and you look back over the years, it's those moments of change that have been the most impactful. And that was great. I mean, I know like in my life too, there's been times where I'm like, oh, things are amazing. I wish my life never changed, and things could continue like this. But then I'll look back at those moments and the belief that I had at that time, and I'm like, oh, thank goodness they changed because, there's this great evolution. And sometimes the universe knows, better, and gives us things that are beyond what we can even imagine for ourselves. And it really is about expanding beyond the comfort zone so that you can achieve extraordinary things because we're all extraordinary beings and we are meant to have an extraordinary life. But I think that we forget that. And it's so important to remember who we are and find that inner value and that inner worth and know what is possible for you. Often it's we put limits on ourselves or we allow other people to put their limits on us through their belief system and we sort of adopt their belief system as our own. But really, it's about dissecting, those beliefs. Are they truths? And you'll find that most of those are falsehoods that we truly believe and we hold on to dearly, but it really does impact the quality of our life. You talked earlier, Shehan, about sleep and how important sleep is. And yes, we need to heal the body and rejuvenate. And we do that through getting a great night's sleep. I find that sleep is very underrated. But if we
Yep.
don't have that sleep, we all know what it feels like when we wake up and where our tolerance is lower, We don't
Yeah.
feel healthy. Our cognitive function declines, and that's not allowing us to live our best life. So it can be the small things, incorporating, a better sleeping habit, maybe going to bed a little bit earlier, drinking
Yeah.
water, those deep breaths that we talked about, just to help to, calm the nervous system down, alleviate some of the tension and the pent up angst, anxiety that you have. It's really important to find ways to express that and to allow you to thrive.
Yeah, you need sleep to recover and also for your muscles to grow, right? So there's growth even when you think that it's downtime. You need that downtime for you to grow.
Mhm.
And your body helps heal itself that way. Meditation is one of those things too that people look towards, right? Just to put their body at ease and at peace. Um, I don't know if anybody's ever been to a spa or to a meditation clinic, those kind of things, but those sometimes we're going, and we need some time for ourselves to heal. And I don't mean by just like, you cut yourself and put a band-aid on it, but the mind, the body, everything just sometimes needs to relax. And we're in a fast-paced world. You're going to work, you're with the kids, those kind of things. You're taking care of other people, and sometimes you need time for yourself just to, get peace and one with oneself.
Yes, you definitely need that tune up so that you can reach out and claim that extraordinary life. And we are out of time. So I want to say thank you, Shehan Wicks, so much for joining us. And to all the listeners out there, thank you so much for tuning in. And remember that you are worthy. Take care of yourself, take care of your mind, take care of your body, and thrive. I really want you to reach out and claim the extraordinary life that is there for you. Stay tuned. Thursdays here on Sauga 960 at 3 p.m., The Mindset Mentor.